Hi there, kids. Live from Studio 1F here in beautiful downtown None of Your Business. It's the Mandrake Show starring the one and only Lionel Mandrake, and I am your trusty co-host, Matt Murdock, and well, here he is. I didn't have my normal intro ready today, and Niles French is currently unavailable. We'll get into that later. Where'd you go? All right.
Okay.
You have to overlook him, folks. He's discombobulated, but then what else is new?
How are you doing there, Mr. Murdock?
How you doing, sir?
It's a pleasure to see you. It's definitely a pleasure to be back on the air again today, Friday, December 2nd, in the
You
year
look very
of our Lord.
snazzy today, by the way, I noticed, with the tie and all that. Very, very patriotic color scheme, red, white, blue.
You know something? This red tie is supposed to signify one thing and one thing only.
And that is?
The victory of President-elect Donald J. Trump. He always wears a red power tie, and in order to emulate President-elect Donald J. Trump, I decided to wear, until further notice, a red tie.
Okay,
and I noticed that you're looking pretty snazzy, too. Are you trying to follow Hillary? Because she's in mourning right now, and you are wearing black.
He's still trying to accuse me of being a liberal.
I have my suspicions.
How many times have I... Dude, did I not on this very show, the last show we did I not say that I've left the whole moderate thing behind? I have totally joined the dark side. I'm with you guys on the conservative thing. I did not vote for Hillary Clinton. So what do I have to do? Pledge allegiance to Rush Limbaugh or something?
Well, usually at the beginning
I'm not a liberal.
the beginning of the Lionel Mandrake radio program, we usually do one thing lately in your absence. I think you were out a little incommunicado or not available in the last couple of weeks. But I am happy to have you back, Mr. Murdock. Certainly, we usually say the Pledge of Allegiance.
We've never done the Pledge of Allegiance on this show.
No, you've never done the Pledge of Allegiance.
And neither of you. I remember all the shows.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Now we got that out of the way.
By the way, I'm not so sure about that indivisible part anymore. I just
I would have agreed had the Hilderbeest reigned victorious, but since she's been vanquished and she's currently holed up somewhere in a bunker.
And apparently she doesn't know she's vanquished, which is a good segue into this whole recount farce.
Exactly.
I mean, good Lord, it's like, it's over, Johnny. Give up. You know?
What is the recount all about? It's been headed by Jill Stein, but apparently the Hillary campaign jumped aboard.
They want us to believe it's headed by Jill Stein.
Interesting point.
I think what's happening here, I think somebody was paid off, because, I mean, come on, seriously. What does Jill Stein have to gain from this? I mean, the woman had, like, what, 0.2% of the vote. It's not like a recount's going to change things in her favor.
I heard that she received a few hundred votes. I mean, I'm not trying to mock the woman.
A few hundreds.
It may have been a few hundred or maybe less than a few thousand.
In a nation of, what was it, 300 million people, she gets...
What was she running for, by the way?
She was, well, last I heard, she was running for president. She was running on the Green Party or something like that. It's standard. Every election you have these third-party candidates or major party candidates, whatever you want to call them, always, it really amounts to nothing more than a protest.
You make an interesting...
You don't like either one of the major party candidates, so it's a way for people who don't want to vote for either one of the major parties to vote for somebody else so they can say, I didn't vote for him.
I heard Jill Stein was actually siphoning votes away from Hillary Clinton in Michigan where she was running.
See, that's the funny thing. Okay, yeah, I read that report too. All right, it's like, okay, the whole point behind this was to try to siphon votes away from Trump. But from what I hear, the recount total is that Trump actually gained votes.
Yeah, during the recount. Now,
Can you say backfire?
Today's news sources indicate Trump's lawyers are going after the recount now, and I think they're trying to put the stop on it on whatever legal grounds they're using, but Trump's lawyers are out there right now trying to stop this recount, which they describe as frivolous, a waste of time, meaningless, and vindictive. And I have to say there's another interesting issue that is even more frightening in its prospects, and that is that currently the rumor has it, and these are people who are in the news, that there are approximately 15 electors who are going to refuse to cast their votes for Donald J. Trump in the Electoral College by the 19th of December. And this could cause a constitutional crisis because if the electors don't cast the votes that they have acquired through the will of the people, the voting and the democratic process, then Donald Trump will be denied the 270 electoral votes that he requires if it goes higher than 35 electors. Now there are 15 who are apparently rumored to have been saying they are not going to cast those legitimate votes that were cast by the American people for Donald Trump.
Well, the key word here is rumored. Okay? We don't know what's actually going to happen.
We don't.
Here.
Just like we didn't know that Donald Trump had his lawyers on the case with Jill Stein.
Okay, well, let me finish up this thing about Jill Stein. Okay, all right. I think she was put up to this.
That's what I wanted to get to.
I think she might have been paid off by somebody, And what I found was interesting was how, okay, all right, when this whole thing started, the Hillary camp was like, well, we got nothing to do with this. And then all of a sudden, when it started picking up what little bit of steam it got, all of a sudden, the Hildebeest comes on and says that she's on board with it.
She conceded the election, the night of the election, to Donald Trump via phone, but she didn't have the decency and grace to appear before her supporters in the Jacob K. Javits Convention Center, which Donald Trump himself built, by the way.
That's because, again, rumor has it that the reason why Hillary didn't come out and address her supporters and thank them for their efforts because reportedly, she was throwing a drunken temper tantrum and was attacking everybody and blaming everybody.
Can you imagine Hillary Clinton drunk? I mean, now you've heard
of
your...
now, it is a documented fact that she's been known to throw back a few shots.
The audience out there doesn't know this.
There's pictures out there.
Murdock actually worked in the libation industry or the adult beverages industry as a bartender for some 20 years.
I worked at a bar for 20 years back in South Carolina.
Not just any bar, a country bar. Yeehaw!
It wasn't all yeehaw, trust me.
All right. So did you play rap music in some of these country bars?
Let me put it to you this way. Okay, when it's 12:30 Saturday night and you're in a country bar and you're playing Baby Got Back, that ain't a whole lot of country,
That sounds like
folks.
A great country song. It's 12:30 and you're in a country bar playing Baby Got Back. In any event, this man right here knows drunks when he sees them, especially nasty drunks. Now, have you ever seen, and this is a yes or no, a really nasty drunk?
Oh, yeah. Oh, plenty.
Now, in your assessment...
You don't work in the bar business for over 20 years and not see nasty drunks.
In your assessment, how nasty is it that you think the Hildebeest actually got when she realized that Mook, her campaign manager, gave her the old shiv in the side by screwing up everything and making her lose? Actually, she made herself lose, but she had to blame somebody. How nasty... above and beyond a normal nasty drunk do you think the Hildebeest got?
Well, like I said, we only know from unconfirmed sources who apparently were there, but they said that she was like really bad.
I heard that she was
throwing
screaming
things. I mean, there was even one report that Podesta was actually physically assaulted by her.
I've heard that report. And not only was he assaulted, but he was insulted.
It's your fault. It's your fault.
It's your fault. But then check it out what happened. And check it out what happened after that. Mook actually got hit with a bottle, I heard. But then Podesta was said to go out there. And Podesta says, but these people are our supporters. We have to go out and be gracious, and we have to concede the election.
I think by that time she was probably
Hillary
passed
said
out.
this, and I quote, and this is what they said she said. Apparently someone has a tape somewhere. She goes, F them. She said, F them, man. Oh, if that's out there on tape, you guys can sell that to the Inquirer and make $500,000 easily.
No, you want to know what I want to hear the tape of? All right, remember that famous concert that was put on by Jay-Z and Beyonce?
Oh, yeah, with all the foul language.
With the whole thing, with the whole point that was supposed to be voter registration, because they had voter registration booths set up right outside the arena where the concert was being held.
How convenient.
The idea would be that, as soon as you left the concert area, after you heard Hillary speak, of course, then you were to go over and register to vote, registered Democrat, of course, and with the intention of voting for the Hildebeest. But from what I understand, what happened was, as soon as the free concert was over and Hillary took to the stage to speak, people started leaving.
Right, even before she began.
Didn't stop at the registering booths or nothing like that. But no, the tape I want to hear is that, there's a story going around out there that, all right, during Beyonce's performance, she after 2 songs abruptly quit and stormed off the stage. Now, the stories that I have heard, it said that the reason why this happened was because allegedly, now I point out,
Allegedly, it's not
allegedly,
substantiated.
Beyonce heard in her headset. All the entertainers, they wear headsets now.
Hot mics.
Yeah, and supposedly there was a hot mic backstage where Hillary was, and Beyonce supposedly overheard on the hot mic Hillary making disparaging remarks about African Americans.
Oh my God.
And that that Beyonce was like, oh hell no, and cut off her performance and walked off the stage.
Beyonce, if you're out there listening to the Lionel Mandrake and Matt Murdock
Allegedly.
show, if you do have this information for us to share with our audience, we would offer you, some perks to come on the show and describe exactly what it is.
He'll drink a Miller Lite with you.
I'll have a Miller Lite with you, Beyonce. And now, about the Podesta.
We are low budget now. Okay?
We are low budget, but Podesta actually caused her to kind of freak out when he went, and he said, "All right, everybody, go home. We're going to see what happened," as if something happened, and nothing happened except, well, newsflash, you lost. That's what happened, Miss Clinton. You lost. And you know what? Now, to pick it up to speed, today is December 3rd. Am I right?
Second.
Today is December 2nd. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm one day ahead, but. Hillary Clinton has not really been heard from since the election, except to appear at some fundraiser for some, I think it was like a charity organization called the Snowflake fundraiser.
This was like a couple of days ago in the New York area that she finally emerged from seclusion.
She seems to be bunkered down like Hitler in his bunker during the ending hours of World War II, where he was still in his mind commanding vast legions of Wehrmacht troops and panzer divisions, sending them out to confront the Allied forces. In the meantime, Hitler's vast Third Reich, which extended from North Africa into Moscow, all the way, conquering all of Europe and beyond, was shrunken down to the territory of about 4 or 5 square miles in Berlin. And in his mind, he honestly felt he could still win the war.
In other words, okay, while he was thinking he had this great massive force out there still ready to lay down their lives for him, most of them were either dead or prisoners of war. And those that were left, most of them were going like, "You on your own, good night."
Most of them, and there were a lot of Hitler Jugend, the Hitler Youth, who were like 12 and 13-year-old boys who were using Panzerfausts.
I heard that George Soros was involved with the Nazis.
He certainly was. He was a collaborator in
George
Hungary.
Soros, who is behind a lot of the stuff you're seeing going on as far as, protesters and recounts and stuff like that.
Let's talk about Mr. Soros, George Soros. From what I understand, he's a Hungarian person who's an atheist.
Dual citizenship.
He was Jewish, but he rejected his Jewish religion and he became an atheist. And during this time, he immigrated. Actually, prior to that, in World War II, he was a collaborator with the Nazis, I believe in Hungary, in helping to capture some of his co-religionists and place them into concentration camps. At some point after the war, as a collaborator, he somehow wound up coming to the United States of America, and for a period of time, he developed some financial and business acumen. I heard he drove a taxi cab, and he began working in that big, vast, that giant financial company. I forgot the name of it. Anyone could look it up. And he began to develop wealth, a lot of it, and at one point he even broke the Bank of England by financial speculating. He's a very wealthy man, but he's an evil leftist. Now, we're talking about Hillary Clinton and this Jill Stein, who's initiating the recount, and Hillary Clinton, who is on board with the recount.
After saying at first that she had nothing to do with it.
And then conceding the election. How much of a 3-time loser can you be if you're Hillary Clinton? You lost the nomination for your party's nomination the first time around with Barack Hussein Obama. You lost the election to Donald J. Trump, a businessman tycoon who never had held a political office in his life. And now you're going to lose a third time by this futile effort. It's almost like the Battle of the Ardennes, where Hitler sent all of his troops to try and repel the Allied offensive. In the meantime, he lost. It was his last hurrah. Now she's going to lose this battle of the bulge.
Well, see, that's it. See, the key word you just said there, last hurrah, okay? Hillary knows that the window of opportunity is closing for her, if for no other reason, her advanced age. I mean, think about it. Now, I have heard that she's actually considering another run in 2020. Okay.
Oh, God.
All right, let's say that she does do this, okay? I don't think she will, but let's just say that she does. In 2020, she will be 73 years old. Okay? Now, I think we're already pushing the envelope now as far as electing older presidents because, okay, Donald Trump is currently 70 years old. He beats out Ronald Reagan, who had been the previous oldest person elected president at 69. I don't think America's going to go for 73 years old.
And
You know,
even, but
and well, see what the whole big deal boils down to, and this is the whole thing with Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton never wanted to be president to do what she could to help America be a better place. It was never about, improving things domestically or, improving our standing around the world. This is all about, for
Ego?
her, this is personal ambition, ravenous thirst for power, and ego. She is so committed in her mind to this thing of making history as the first female president, and she's come this close to it, and she's just having a hard time giving it up.
in all fairness, this close is actually this close because the Electoral College is well over 302 electoral votes for Donald Trump, and she had less than 260.
Well, when I say this close, I mean closer than any other woman
Female.
has.
And
Yeah.
that's what's scary to me, the fact that such an unscrupulous and deceitful person could even have come as close as she did to being elected. She did get popular votes, but we don't elect presidents on that basis. We elect presidents on the basis of the Constitution, and the rest is history.
And it's really funny how the same people who are now trying to undo by way of the Electoral College the election of Donald Trump also want the Electoral College done away with.
These are very undemocratic Democrats, and they, as I always mentioned to you in private, Mr. Murdock, I believe the Democratic Party is more of a soft fascist party. Soft fascism usually leads to hard fascism.
Well, see, that's what it's become. That's what it's become.
They would overturn the democratic process. They're looking to overturn the democratic process. They don't accept the results of the election. Hillary herself went on a long rant after Donald Trump said he'd have to wait and see if he would accept the results of the election. He didn't say he wouldn't. He'd have to see. And she went on and on about how horrifying. And she's so full of these, words that are so, designed to create chaos and sort of a sense of urgency. In the meantime, what is she doing now? What was she doing? She's now sending her goons out there to try and manually count the votes so that they could delay the completion of the electors in their duty to secure the presidency of the president-elect on the 19th.
There's an old saying that applies here. Do as I say, not as I do.
But these people are beyond
That's what's
that.
going on there.
In politics, it's always that way until Donald Trump came around. Do you know, yesterday he was in both the Carrier air conditioning plant in Indianapolis,
we need to talk about
Indiana.
this. Yeah.
And from there, a few hours later, less than an hour later, I turn my channel. Donald Trump is then in Ohio on what he is calling, and I agree that it is, his thank you tour. But the media, I'm talking about MSN, that's the MSLSD network, the Clinton News Network, and others are now
Mainstream media.
They're saying that this is the victory tour. You see, they'll take words, using words to try and disparage President-elect Trump by saying, instead of saying, and he calls it his thank you tour, which it clearly was to thank the voters, they're turning it into a victory tour in order to make him seem more arrogant and everything else than he really is.
Buckle up, Buttercup, because you're going to have this for at least the next 4 to 8 years.
Mr. Murdock.
See, they're shifting gears now. They failed in their attempt to deny Trump the presidency. So now they're going to put their focus on trying to see to it that he does not have a successful presidency.
And that his presidency is discredited before it even begins.
It's going to be a 4 to 8 year, depending on how many years he gets to serve, 4 to 8 year witch hunt is what you're going to see.
Bush and Gore, Florida, decided by a few hundred votes. That tainted the Bush presidency in the sense that there were always those who then said his presidency wasn't really legitimate because his brother actually swung the vote in the courts in Florida. They're trying to do the same thing, although you mentioned George Soros. George Soros is behind this with Jill Stein because she's got nothing to gain. They're trying to do two things, in the humble opinion of yours truly, Lionel Mandrake. They're trying to, obviously discredit the presidency of President-elect Donald Trump before it even begins. That's A. B, they're putting doubts in the minds of the Hillary Clinton followers so that she can claim in the future that she did have a mandate but that the vote was somehow stolen from her. And now there's a third aspect of it, which has to do with the globalists, with the George Soros puppet masters, who want to do something, though I know not what their nefarious plan must be, except to say that Jill Stein didn't do this on her own. The $7 million that was raised was from the grassroots, but somebody's instructing her to do this, and for what reason?
She's a puppet, okay, all right? Because, okay, and I'll give Gary Johnson credit. Gary Johnson's like, no, I ain't going near this, all right?
Right.
So I mean,
who's Gary Johnson?
He was the other third-party candidate.
Oh, I see. Yes, that's true. So there's an attempt to undermine and to discredit Trump's presidency. But look at this, Mr. Murdock. Can you believe this? And to the audience out there, imagine this. The man is about 50 days away from taking the oath of office, less than 2 months, let us say. And he's already successfully convinced the Carrier Air Conditioning Corporation of United Technologies to keep those 1,100 plus jobs in the great state of Indiana. He's not even president yet.
That's what I want.
Losers.
That's what I want to talk about yet. I mean, here it is, barely a month after getting elected. And we're talking about less than 2 months before he officially takes office, and the man's already hitting the ground running, getting things done. Now here's my point. Okay, all right. Carrier made that announcement back in February about their intention to relocate
to Monterrey, Mexico,
and take those 1,000 jobs out of the country and put them in Mexico. Barack Obama has had 9 months to do something about this. Where was he? But then Trump, who's just been elected, who hasn't even taken office yet, less than a month, and he got the deal done.
The Art of the Deal. I got to tell you, I may just buy that book, because here's a man who never was into the political realm on the professional level, but was just a straight businessman, is so successful that there must be something to what he does, that he got himself elected against the will of the entire left progressosphere, which would include the globalists who hate the fact now that an American company is staying in America, and the officials in Monterrey, Mexico, in Mexico itself, their commerce officials, I heard from the Drudge Report, are saying that this is unacceptable, that jobs now that were scheduled to come into Mexico are not going to Mexico. And one last thing, can you imagine that the factory is nearly completed in Monterrey, the property was acquired by Carrier, and they were ready to move in shortly. Donald Trump yesterday during his Carrier speech said the president of Carrier was speaking to him. He goes, and I wonder, would he have accepted my phone call if it was just Donald Trump or president? But that's okay. We get along. He was sort of chiding in his very charming way. But I want to say one thing. The Carrier president said, well, we already built the factory. And Donald Trump says, that's okay. Sell the land, sell the property, knock it down, but keep these jobs here in America. And it's true. They got nothing to lose. They built the factory. They could sell the factory. These jobs are staying here. They're getting incentives. $7 million is a drop in the bucket when you look at a $17 trillion deficit ran up by this president over 8 years.
Okay, now see, all right, now I'm glad you brought up the book that he wrote, The Art of the Deal. Because see, I think one of the things that made it possible for him to be able to do this is because, okay, all right, think about it. This is a guy who made a fortune, if by no other thing, he knows how to negotiate. The guy is a businessman. This is one of the advantages of him not being a politician. He knows how to speak to business people in the language that they can understand. And I think you're probably going to see a lot of this going to happen in the coming years when we have, similar circumstances, and the guy can be very persuasive. And I think what he said was, okay, look, hey, you're an American company. You owe it to American workers to keep these jobs here, because Mexico, hey, forget about it. Because, we all know that what happens is, okay, a lot of these companies go to Mexico because of cheap labor. That's it. Cheap, non-union labor.
And the tax rate here in the United States is the highest in the industrialized world.
Right.
Corporations are paying the highest tax of anywhere in the industrialized world. They can't afford it, so they say.
And see, if this move to Mexico had taken place, then we're talking about, okay, jobs that they have to pay up here, people, they have to pay people $15, $20, $25 or whatever.
And a 35% corporate tax.
Down in Mexico, they pay them $3 an hour. That's why all these people.
No. That's on the high end of things.
Well, maybe on the high end, yeah, okay, maybe. But the bottom line is that's why all these companies were doing this, and nobody was stepping in to stop them until now.
Barack Obama is on.
One more thing. Okay, to the people of Mexico, who are saying that this is a bad deal and it's unfair and all that. American people, American jobs, get over it.
Donald Trump was speaking in Ohio just a few hours after he left the carrier plant. And this man gets on a plane. He goes from Indianapolis, and he shoots on over to the other location there in Ohio. And I'm in Ohio to thank the people and the voters of Ohio. And I watched that speech he gave last night. It was broadcast on all the major news networks. Donald Trump sounded like candidate Trump. He was reiterating and emphasizing, we will build a great wall, and yes, it will have doors so that people could come in, but they got to come in here legally. We're not going to be losing jobs anymore to the rest of the world. And the Trans-Pacific Partnership, that's not going to happen. Oh, and by the way, we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare with something better. He was going on about the promises he made in his campaign to let the voters know that their vote was not cast in vain and that he didn't forget what he had promised, and he's continuing to do this right now to let the voters know, and they're trying to doubt it. Oh, and he also said to the people in the back, he goes, there they are, the most dishonest people in the world, the media. His speech was so...
I love it.
It made me feel real proud, especially this part. He said, and by the way, don't want it to leave this room, so nobody in this room say anything. It stays in here. Don't say anything. But I was going to say this on Monday, but I'm going to say it now. We are nominating for the Secretary of Defense,
General James Mattis.
General James Mad Dog Mattis. How does that sound? And the place erupted. When was the last? And you know what he said that made me proud? He said, I'm going to nominate Mad Dog Mattis as Secretary of Defense, who is the closest thing to General George S. Patton we could have. And everybody erupted into cheers.
And okay, the word for that is, okay, here we are. Memo to ISIS, Al-Qaeda, all the other jihadist wannabes out there. Enjoy your time with Obama, whatever time there is left, because come January 20th of next year, there's a new sheriff in town, and he ain't playing with you.
And guess what? He's a 4-star Marine general with over 40 years of professional experience leading men in the field. He didn't get the name Mad Dog for nothing. He got the name Mad Dog because his troops said when this guy gives a speech, he means what he says and says what he means. He's a mad dog. And instead of this guy... And I have to tell you, our current Secretary of Defense.
Who's that? Happy Sam?
I wonder if I could show. Let me just walk up.
That's Happy Jack. Remember the Who did that song, Happy Jack? That's Happy Jack.
If you just look at our Secretary of Defense, he's out of here. This guy's.
Looks like Gomer Pyle.
He's like Gomer Pyle. Ashton B. Carter, Secretary of Defense. He couldn't find his buttocks with both hands. ISIS was running circles around him. The guy looks like he needs a CNI dog, and he's got a stupid smirk on his face. This guy is out of there. Donald Trump isn't playing around.
He strikes fear in my heart.
I mean, if you were a jihadi or some kind of a terrorist, would you be afraid of this guy as head of the Department of Defense? I mean, it's about time we have a guy with a formidable reputation for taking no prisoners. Now, when you compare a general to General George S. Patton, I mean, first of all, it's very hard to even equate anyone in the modern era with George S. Patton because he was old blood and guts. He was moving so fast out of the Ardennes in 1945, that the Joint Chiefs of Staff under the Supreme Allied Commander, Dwight D. Eisenhower, had to send a memo to him, had to contact him and say, slow down because you're going to be in Berlin so fast, we still don't have the political solution of what we're going to do when we get there, so slow it down. So that's what we need, a general like that. Mad Dog Mattis.
My favorite quote from George Patton was, he addressed the troops, he'd say, look, it's not your job to come over here and die for your country. Your job is to come over here and make that dumb SOB on the other side die for his country, and then after that, you come back home.
Well, George C. Scott, who portrayed Patton in the great film Patton, in the opening sequence, when they have the gigantic American flag and General Patton comes up, he says, "Now listen up." He goes, "We don't win wars by dying for our country. We win wars by making the other poor son of a bitch die for his country. We're gonna wade into him. We're gonna spill his blood. We're gonna use him."